Gabriel Osenda has committed to the University of Tennessee, another 2026 commit, and that class just continues to climb. What is Tennessee getting out of Osenda on the offensive line? All that and more coming up here on a Monday, Locked On Vols.
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, good Monday morning, everybody. Welcome into Locked On Vols here on this new week. And a big thanks to our friends over at Game Time for being a presenting sponsor of the show. You can download the Game Time app, create an account, put in the promo code Locked On College for $20 off your first purchase. Hope you guys had a great weekend. Hope you guys enjoyed the conversations I had with Ramon Foster, breaking down the big news on Thursday afternoon about the show on Friday about Mike Keith and what it was like to work with Mike Keith from Ramon Foster's perspective, VFL, former NFL greats, or former NFL longtime Steeler. Of course, is a radio host in Nashville at 104.5 The Zone. I really enjoyed that conversation, a really unique perspective. And if you didn't listen to it or watch it on Friday, I encourage you to go back and check that out. Big news, obviously, that Mike Keith is going to be the new voice of the Tennessee Volunteers. But today's show is going to center a little bit around recruiting, a look ahead to the 2025 season, of course, and looking back at Tennessee's win over Texas this past weekend on the hardwood. Gabriel Osenda, what does he bring to the class of 2026 for Glenn Ellerbe and Josh Heupel? In segment one, looking back at Darlinstone, Dubar, and Felix Okpara's heroics for Tennessee on the road at Texas in segment two. And then, of course, we'll take a look at the secondary room. Can Tennessee secondary be even better in 2025 than it was in 2024? It was much, much, much better in 2024, but it needs to continue to take a step. So all that and more here on a Monday show. Gabriel Osenda, he went ahead and made his announcement to the University of Tennessee on Saturday, and he's going to become let's count him, guys. He is now the 8th commit for the class of 2026 for Tennessee. That class now ranks 3rd in the country, again, very early on, and 1st in the Southeastern Conference. Gabriel Osenda is an offensive tackle from Baylor School in Chattanooga. Okay, he has got a big frame on him, and that's what's so appealing about him. 6'7", about 305 pounds. Spent time at Clearwater International Academy last fall. He's from Canada. Transferred in, of course, to Baylor School prior to this past football season and instantly became one of the best offensive lineman prospects in the state of Tennessee. He chose Tennessee over Florida, over Alabama, Georgia, Ole Miss. He picked up a number of SEC offers this past football season, but wanted to come to the University of Tennessee. He's been visiting to Tennessee, been a frequent visitor on campus the last couple of years, and he was on Tennessee campus a lot this past football season, including the stretch of home games where Tennessee played Florida, Alabama, and Kentucky throughout the month of October into early November. So this one was all the matter of kind of when, not if, and certainly he went ahead and made his commitment on Saturday when he was playing in the All-American Bowl in San Antonio, which was really, really interesting, making his announcement on national television. So good for him. In an interview with VolQuest.com's Matt Ray, Osenda went over a number of different topics on why he chose Tennessee. Here's one about Glenn Ellerbe. Quote, he was probably one of the deciding factors was that he was such a great coach. Just seeing what he's done with the linemen that have now that they have now and the tackles that they have now, I can really see that he's developed these guys. They are doing something great there. My relationship with him, I talked to him a lot. My communication with him, I can tell his football IQ and knowledge is amazing because I'm going there. I'm going to get developed and be the best that I can be at Tennessee, end quote. Tons of other good quotes and a full interview with Tennessee's new offensive line commit, Gabriel Osenda, with Matt Ray over at VolQuest.com. So what is Tennessee getting in Gabriel Osenda? Well, again, 6'7", 305 pounds from Baylor School in Chattanooga, transferred there after spending a little bit of time at Clearwater International Academy, and of course, again, from Canada originally. You look at his On3 recruiting profile, and in the nation, according to the On3 industry rankings, he's considered the prospect number 365, 25th offensive tackle and 10th best player in the state of Tennessee. It's a guy that's, whenever you're wanting to keep some of the better players inside the state of Tennessee to go to the University of Tennessee, I think Osenda certainly at the position which is needed, and that's offensive tackle. You want to keep him inside the state border, and I think Tennessee did a really, really good job in that regard. You look at kind of what else he's joining in this class. And this is, again, his 8th commit to the class of 2026 that is headlined by 5-star quarterback Faizon, which is considered, one of the better players in the entire country. 247 Sports has him as the #1 overall prospect in the country. On3 has him at 28. On3 Industry Rankings has him at number 6 nationally. Tyreek King, wide receiver. Carson Sneed, a tight end. Brandon Anderson, an interior offensive lineman. Gabriel Osenda now is that tackle in the class, and so you're seeing the building blocks at every position, really, at almost all positions on the offensive end right now, going along with Tyson Bacon, defensive lineman, Braylon Outlaw, linebacker, and then, of course, another wide receiver, and Tyron Evans, who committed to the University of Tennessee last week as well for the class of 2026. So really, really good building blocks. Tennessee already off and running, 8 commits in this class, and you look at the impact analysis for Gabriel Osenda, again, over at VolQuest.com. Dominant season up front for the Red Raiders, writes Matthew Ray. Routinely displayed his ability as a natural pass protector as he has evolved more as a run blocker throughout the course of the season. He started to play with more natural mean streak, and of course you want that in an offensive lineman. Tennessee wanted him. Several other SEC programs wanted him. Massive size, plays really well in space, swallows up smaller defenders when working at the second level, so good feet to kind of get up there, chip, arc block out there on the edge. He is a natural athlete as a tackle and possesses some excellent developmental upside. Again, that's from the impact analysis over at VolQuest.com. Big win for Tennessee again in this recruiting process. Again, not necessarily from the state of Tennessee. This isn't his home, but it's where he's playing his high school football right now, and already being picked as one of the top juniors or rising seniors in the country to play in that Navy All-American Bowl. And that's where he made his commitment. So good news for Tennessee, getting the commit of Gabriel Osenda over the weekend, and that's just continuing to add to an already pretty solid 2026 committed class that's off and running early on in the stages. There's going to be a junior day, I believe, next weekend. Maybe another one, coming up later on in the month of January. So we'll see exactly who's going to be on campus. Tennessee, of course, still looking, evaluating prospects in the transfer portal. I know it's slow moving. I know it's frustrating a lot as from a fan's perspective, but we'll see exactly kind of what this strategy is, especially when this team gets out there on the field in spring practice. I do think Tennessee could, in that second window, could go and get another player to add, especially for depth purposes, especially if they don't add another wide receiver here before this window closes. Tennessee reports back to school, a week from today. There are obviously teams who just lost, this past week in the college football playoffs. The 2 teams still playing, Notre Dame and Ohio State for the national championship. They'll have a 5-day window after their season's over as well. So there's still some players who can jump in the transfer portal. We'll exactly have to see kind of what this class looks like. But right now, just 2. Wendell Moy on the offensive line, of course, Amari Jefferson, a wide receiver. So it's kind of slow moving in that regard. All right, let's talk a little basketball, shall we? Tennessee basketball, a good win on the road over Texas, and that is coming up next as we continue here on a Monday morning edition of Locked On Vols. Stay tuned. This is a message from sponsor Intuit TurboTax. Taxes was dealing with piles of paperwork and frustrating forms, and then waiting and worrying really, if you're going to get any money back. Now Taxes is easy uploading your forms to TurboTax Expert, who's matched to your unique tax situation. An expert who's backed by the latest technology, which cross-checks millions of data points for 100% accuracy. While they work on your taxes, you get real-time updates on their progress, and you can get the most money back guaranteed, all while you go about your day. No stressing, no worrying, no waiting. Now, this is Taxes, Intuit TurboTax. Get on the expert now at TurboTax.com. Only available TurboTax Live full service, real-time updates only in iOS mobile app. See guarantee details at TurboTax.com/guarantee. All right, a big weekend for the University of Tennessee basketball team. Number 1 still on the, aside their name. Of course, that won't be the case whenever the new AP poll comes out, today, or actually it was out yesterday. I'm recording this before it was out. But nonetheless, Tennessee's still one of the better teams in the country. But, had that really devastating I don't want to say devastating. It was really demoralizing, I guess is the better word, loss at Florida, where it was like a 30-point loss, man. It was just bad on the road earlier in the week. You knew Tennessee was certainly not as bad as what you saw Tennessee play on Tuesday night, but still staying on the road, going back to Texas, and we all know it is a place where Rick Barnes coached for so many years, and a place that they thought he was done. They let him go, and Tennessee was there to scoop him up and said, heck, we'll take Rick Barnes, and rejuvenated his career and obviously led Tennessee to a couple Sweet 16 appearances and an Elite 8 last year. So a new Rick Barnes, if you will, going back to Texas for the second time since leaving Austin. Probably a bigger storyline outside, certainly, than it's in the locker room for Tennessee. But I did think, the players obviously know what's going on and they want to have his back. And certainly they want to bounce back and play better basketball, play a better brand of basketball than they did against Florida on the road earlier in the week. Well, Tennessee got that win, 74-60, okay? I think the FanDuel line had the Volunteers as a 6.5-point favorite. Obviously, Texas covered that. Ken Palm had Tennessee winning, I believe, 62-58 or something, so it was kind of right around a 4 to 5 point win. That stayed on par. It wasn't pretty all the time. It was certainly not a good shooting night from Tennessee's guys who make a living making the ball in the baskets. They carry this offense. Scott Ziegler, 4 of 11 from the field, 2 of 6 from 3. Chaz Lanier, 3 of 11 from the field, 2 of 6 from 3. Jordan Gainey, in 29 minutes played, 3 of 9, 2 of 5 from 3. Again, Tennessee shooters weren't doing a great job of making the basketball. Tennessee had a turnover problem as well. In the first, we'll call it 14. Let's see. In the first 14 minutes of the game, Tennessee turned it over 10 times and had the lead in the basketball game with 2 minutes before the break. Not bad right there. In the first 31 minutes of the game, Tennessee had 14 turnovers. Zakai Ziegler, towards the end of the first half, went out, looked like he took a shot in the midsection, and that was kind of scary for a moment, but he came back in the game and, of course, finished the game. 11 seconds into the second half, literally 11 seconds into the second half, Rick Barnes pulled Chaz Lanier for a play. And after the game, he was asked about that, and I love Rick Barnes so much. This quote saying, I said, if you're not going to do what you're getting paid to do, you sit over there, because he's getting paid to do that, and that is obviously to shoot the basketball. But Tennessee does end up winning 74-70. You look at the overall stats in this basketball game. Tennessee shooting 44%, not horrible. Tennessee shooting 43% from downtown, not horrible, 10 of 23. Tennessee shooting 14 of 20 from the charity stripe, that is horrible. 70% is not good enough, and that can get you beat in the month of March, and especially in other SEC games. Tennessee's defense held Texas to shooting 41% on the day, 28% from 3, 7 to 25. That's a good number. They weren't much better at the free throw line, 11 to 14, 78%. But of course, had a better percentage, not as many attempts, but a better percentage at the charity stripe than Tennessee did. Tennessee's turnovers were not great. Again, 15 turnovers in the basketball game, 14 in the first 31 minutes of the game, and Texas was able to get 21 points off those Tennessee turnovers. Not great. But the story of this game, in my opinion, the story of this game is Darlinstone, Dubar, and Felix Okpara. Two of the transfers that, Tennessee won it, don't get me wrong, but the headlining transfers were Chaz Lanier and Igor Milicic, right? Well, Igor, he didn't shoot the basketball an awful lot. He was 3 of 5 from the field, 1 of 1 from 3. He had, 6 rebounds, did have 3 turnovers, 7 points overall. It just felt like he didn't shoot an awful lot. Maybe, I saw some tweets and everything saying he just doesn't have any confidence out there with the ball in his hands. And, of course, he's kind of been going through a shooting slump. But nonetheless, he was 3 of 5 overall in the game. Didn't shoot a lot. But, again, going back to Ziegler, who was 4 of 11, Chaz Lanier, who was 3 of 11, those guys weren't scoring the basketball. But, boy, did Dubar have an impact in that second half. I mean, he absolutely did. Gave Tennessee the lead there in the corner 3. It was 3:37 left in the ball game. Ziegler found Dubar in the corner for a 3 for the go-ahead basket, 61-60. Tennessee got the lead, and Tennessee never relinquished that lead. Also sparked Tennessee by scoring 9 of his 12 points in the second half. He finished 4 of 6 from the field, 3 of 5 from 3, and added 6 rebounds. Overall in the game, you had Dubar that had 12 points, 6 rebounds, and again, like I said, 3 of 5 from 3, 4 of 6 overall in the game. He was +8, which is the best number for Tennessee in the plus-minus category. He was awesome, and that was really, really cool. He made 3 shots in the second half, all with with all three either tying the game or giving Tennessee the lead. Each time he turned to the crowd and let the Texas fans know about it. One time he kind of gave them the silencing motion, which I thought was kind of funny. After the game and post-game interviews, the guy Ziegler was asked about Darlinstone Dubar, and when the game flipped, according to Ziegler, was when Dubar ran down the lane, leaped high above the rim, and finished a Jordan Gainey missed three-pointer with a two-handed slam. Again, that was with this little over 6 minutes left in the game. This is the quote from Zakai Ziegler about that specific play. I felt like that dunk was really a turning point in the game. It was JG. We felt like the ball was about to go in, but it came off the rim, and D Stone just came flying in with the big dunk. Man, it just flipped everybody. For Darlinstone Dubar, 17 minutes, that matched a season high, 12 points scored. It's the second highest of the year. He had 13 against Western Carolina earlier on in the basketball season in non-conference play. But just a really, really solid game for him. And remember, he was the first addition for Tennessee out of the transfer portal, but didn't practice an awful lot, kind of spent some time away. He was out with personal reasons and all that. And there were some questions about, what was his role actually going to be like on this Tennessee team. And there was a lot of questions at the beginning of the year. He was unavailable for a couple of those games, but then he started to come along a little bit, and partially due to injuries as well. Man, he's been huge for Tennessee. Absolutely. I mean, this is a guy that, has made a career shooting the three ball. Came over from Hofstra, did a really, really great job there. Just had to kind of find his footing for Tennessee a little bit, and certainly he's been really good the last little bit for Tennessee. Again, nearly 18 points, 18 minutes played, 12 points in the 9 of his 12 points in the second half, and without Darlinstone Dubar in this game and a couple other ones, man, that's another L for Tennessee. And then Felix Okpara, not as much on the offensive end, 7 points, 3 of 5 shooting from the field, 1 of 1 for the charity stripe, but he had 3 blocks. Rim protector. Not only those 3 blocks, but he affected a lot of other shots around the rim. And I thought Felix Okpara was, really, really good for the University of Tennessee. So, not every game is going to be perfect. You're not always going to find the bottom of the net shooting. You're going to have off nights, and Chaz Lanier certainly had more on nights and awesome nights than he's had off nights, but he had an off night the other night. Again, Ziegler finished with 16 points. Lanier finished with 10 points, but majority of Ziegler's points there, not majority, about a third of Ziegler's points there came from the charity stripe, 6 of 7 from the free throw line. Just not a very good night shooting the basketball for Tennessee's primary, there we go, 2 shooters. But Darlinstone Dubar was just fantastic. And Tennessee's rotation short because of all these injuries, right? And he's got to step up, and he certainly stepped up in a big way, 74-70. Tennessee now improves to 15-1 on the year, 2-1 in Southeastern Conference play, and of course Tennessee will get back in action, later on this week. So good to see Tennessee respond the right way after getting just blitzed on the road at Florida the week before. Good teams respond; they don't sit down there and dwell in the dumps. And Tennessee certainly did just that. All right, when we come back, let's take a look at the secondary for Tennessee. Can Tennessee's secondary not only be better in 2025, can it be an absolute strength? Yes, it 100% can. All that and more is coming up next as we continue on here with this Monday morning edition of Locked On Vols. Stay tuned. Hey guys, I want to tell you about my friends over at Game Time. Attending the 12-team college football playoff games is an incredible experience that brings fans together like never before. I remember the excitement of this past playoff games and can't wait to make new memories with the updated format with extra teams involved. Game Time has a new feature called the Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for events even easier. It filters out fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands and thousands of tickets. Recently, I used Game Time Picks to find tickets for a basketball game that I went to with my wife and some friends a couple of weeks ago. Browsing the deals were a breeze. I found great value of all kinds of seats through the venue. The Super Deal in particular stood out as the best value for the event. I love that I could see the seat views before buying in the app. It shows you the total upfront cost with no surprise fees at checkout. Plus, the on-time ticket delivery with the lowest price guarantee gave me peace of mind throughout the entire process. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, put in the promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Create an account, put in the promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. You can download Game Time today. It is last-minute tickets. It is lowest price. It is guaranteed. Hey guys, welcome back into your Monday morning edition of Locked On Vols. Don't forget Twitter Tuesday or X Tuesday, mailbag Tuesday, and that's what we're kind of calling it. That's what we've been calling it here lately, is on tomorrow's show. I didn't mention this earlier in the show, but I wanted to make sure I mentioned it before the show was over. Send in those questions, comments, concerns, whatever you guys have. I'll take them at _Caner at Locked On Vols, and of course, you can ask your questions on the YouTube channel here by commenting on this episode. So be sure to get those questions in. Good win for Tennessee basketball over the weekend. Tennessee football continues to get commits at the high school ranks. We'll see if that translates to the transfer portal. But certainly when we're kind of getting back into our series, I debuted it at volquest.com this morning. Or sometime on Monday, recording this ahead of time, so I'm not sure what time that'll come out. But I wanted to bring this on the show as well, kind of looking ahead to each position room. I don't want to call this just a position preview. I want to have it with a twist, right? And the twist, or the question, or the stance rather, as I kind of get back to my roots in podcasting, is Tennessee's secondary in 2025 is going to be better than it was in 24. And, 24 wasn't bad. I understand Ohio State game was bad. I understand the Georgia game was bad. So the next step, not only for the secondary, but really for the team and for the defense, is to show up in big and meaningful games. Those were Tennessee's two biggest games of the season and didn't even show up, right? It showed up against Alabama. It showed up in some other games throughout the season. It did not show up against Georgia on the road and Ohio State in the college football playoffs on the road. So that's that step. But certainly the defense and the secondary specifically got a whole lot better from 24 or from 23 to 24. And it just continued to get better, chipping away. Tim Banks and Willie Martinez every single year that they've been here and, coaching that defensive backfield. Tennessee finished the, ranked fourth in the SEC in pass defense this year, had an All-American at cornerback in Jermod McCoy. Again, as long as you had Jermod McCoy and you pair him with Ricky Gibson and you got Boo Carter there, that trio leading the secondary, I think you're going to be even better because those guys, sure, McCoy played some as a freshman. Ricky Gibson played very little as a freshman. McCoy at Oregon State. Boo Carter played a lot as a freshman. Those guys are still so young. They're still so young in their playing careers, and they're learning on the fly, and they're gaining valuable experience, and they're getting better year by year. I just think that trio is going to be huge for Tennessee, no doubt. So when you're looking at this room, the secondary as a whole, we're talking quarterbacks, safeties, nickelbacks, okay? Who's back? Well, by my count, Tennessee welcomes back 12 scholarship players in the secondary. Starts with the two cornerbacks, McCoy and Ricky Gibson. McCoy finished tied with Will Brooks for the team lead in interceptions with 4. He had a team best 9 pass breakups. That was tied for the SEC. His 4 picks were tied for the second in the SEC. His 13 passes defended was third, a mark that ranked second in FBS among underclassmen. 90.3 coverage grade according to Pro Football Focus. That ranked 5th nationally and second among cornerbacks in the conference. He was a Thorpe Award semifinalist, a second-team All-American, and a first-team All-SEC player. Jermod McCoy was Tennessee's best transfer portal addition. And I don't want to say it's not even close because Miles Kitselman was right there, but McCoy was obviously better. Fantastic. Both those guys are going to be back for Tennessee in 2025. Then you look at Ricky Gibson. Kind of got a taste of it a little bit against Florida on the road in 2023. 2023 is rather, that's how people normally say it. Got to start in the Citrus Bowl, okay? And then he was the 1B to the 1A of Jermod McCoy at cornerback this year. Finished with 32 tackles, 2 TFLs, 5 pass breakups. Those 5 pass breakups ranked 3rd on the squad. PFF gave him a grade at 74.4, which is considered an above-average starter on 636 defensive snaps. Gibson allowed 247 yards, 3 touchdowns off 24 receptions while being targeted 39 times. When you think about it, and now teams want to stay away from Jermod McCoy, giving up 24 receptions, 247 yards, and 3 touchdowns in 13 games. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. That's really not bad at all for Ricky Gibson on the opposite side of corner of Jermod McCoy. Teams are going to continue to pick on him because of how good McCoy is and how large he looms on the scouting report. Jalen McMurray is also expected to be back. He came over from Temple via the transfer portal, was the number 3 cornerback, 14 tackles, 4 pass breakups, 264 defensive snaps, played a lot of corner, 76.3 PFF grade. He was solid. He was a really, really good, solid player. And then Tennessee needs Caleb Beasley and Marcus Gorey, Beasley specifically, to step up and add some depth and try to dive into some playing time there at cornerback here this offseason. Go to safety now. Andre Turrentine is expected back at safety. A one-time Ohio State Buckeye, transferred to Tennessee prior to the 2022 year. Primarily spent time on the bench in 22 and 23. Played a little bit towards the end of the season in 2023. And then it was a full-time starter this year at safety in 2024. 37 tackles, 1.5 TFL. 1 interception. Pro Football Focus grade at 58.3. It's something, not everything, but obviously that grade's not great. 545 defensive snaps. He needs to continue taking steps in this offseason for sure. Jacoby Thomas, come over from MTSU last offseason. He was a nice player, physical presence, okay? Needs to work on his quickness. Needs to work on playing in space, obviously, as a safety. I understand that how that sounds. 262 snaps, according to PFF, 69.9 Pro Football Focus grade. He was fine. 22 tackles, 3 TFLs, 1 sack, 2 pass breakups, 1 fumble recovery. Just needs to find some more consistency. There were some highs for Jacoby Thomas this year. There were some lows as well. Need to find some consistency. Christian Charles, outside of playing a lot of cornerback in 2022, this was his, the most he's ever played for Tennessee because injuries have just continued to derail his career. He was a part of that 4-man rotation at safety, played 240 snaps, Pro Football Focus grade of 62.1. He's expected to be back. John Slaughter needs to take a step. He played 54 snaps. The staff likes Idris Farouk. Really, really does. 57 snaps in 2024. Hopefully he can kind of step up and be a part of that rotation at safety that is set to lose, obviously Will Brooks, who I'll get to here in a moment. But the staff really likes Farouk, and Farouk, it's a big offseason for him. We'll go to the nickelback spot, and that's Boo Carter, who obviously is coming back, reworked a deal with the Volunteer Club, towards the end of the transfer portal cycle, and he was a freshman All-SEC player. 38 tackles, 3 TFLs, a sack. Again, I continue to say this, credit Banks, credit Martinez. They had a plan to rotate from day one. They did. They had a plan to include Boo Carter in the defensive game plan from day one. They did. And eventually he took over the starting role at nickelback and, starter at punt return as well. 387 snaps in the regular season for Boo Carter, 45 snaps against Alabama on the third Saturday in October. He was named SEC Freshman of the Week after the Florida game and picked off a pass against Mississippi State. And then the forgotten man is Jordan Thomas. He was going to start at the star position, the nickelback spot, before he had a season-ending injury in fall camp 2 days in to practice, and that's unfortunate. If he's healthy, could he come back and play a little bit more of the star and allow Boo Carter to move around, safety corner? I don't know. Would it make more sense? And I think it would, to leave Boo Carter where he is and have Jordan Thomas slip back and play a little safety. I think that's the thing. But again, versatility is the name of the game. And Jordan Thomas is a good player. He's just always hurt, and it's unfortunate. If he can be healthy next year, that allows some chess pieces to be moved around a little bit, certainly in some downs and situations. Who's going to be gone? 12 players are set to return on scholarship. They were on the team this past year. 3 are expected to leave. Of course, Will Brooks, he's out of eligibility. What more can you say about Will Brooks, the walk-on? He not only contributed for Tennessee's defense, he was not only a starter for Tennessee's defense, he was the leader of the safety group. 59 tackles, that was second on the team. Third on the team in pass breakups, tied for the team lead with 4 picks. Let's see here. 76.3 Pro Football Focus grade, which is above average starter. Safety high, 588 defensive snaps. Brooks turned into a decent football player, and I'm really, really happy for him. Tennessee must, find a way to replace him because he was Tennessee's best safety this past year. Christian Harrison was a part-time starter at nickelback with Boo Carter. Thought he had a really good year, man. I think he can turn into a good player. We know that football is in his blood, right? We know who his dad is. 295 snaps, but he left for the transfer portal, committed to Cincinnati over the weekend, so best of luck to him. Jordan Matthews, one of a big-time get at cornerback for Tennessee, class of 2023. Never worked out here. He has since committed to Vanderbilt via the transfer portal. And then we're going to welcome in, Tennessee's going to welcome in Trey Petit, Timothy Merritt, Dylan Lewis, Sidney Walton, and Tyler Redmond to the secondary. And we're going to kind of see, where those guys are going to fit in. Sidney Walton, you think is going to be a safety. Dylan Lewis, Tyler Redmond, Trey Petit, you think are going to be corners. Timothy Merritt, the one-time Miami commit, thinks going to be a safety. And I'm intrigued to see what those guys look like in spring practice. But those are guys, they might not really wow you in terms of the star rating, but those are guys that Tennessee wanted. And Tennessee, a lot of those guys jumped into Tennessee's committed class early on in the cycle. So I think Tennessee's secondary, because you're bringing back your 2 corners, Jermod McCoy, Ricky Gibson, because you're bringing back Boo Carter, who is just a dynamic player at star, I think Tennessee's secondary can be so much better in 24 and 25. And I think they were pretty good in 2024, man. I thought they were really, really solid. And miles better from where the secondary primarily was the first 3 years of this regime. So I'm excited to see what that room looks like. Big offseason for a lot of those guys in that room. We've talked tight ends, we've talked running back, we talked offensive line, and today we talked DBs. We've still got to talk wide receivers. defensive line, special teams, and linebackers here as we look ahead to each position room for the 2025 Tennessee Volunteers. Don't forget to send in your questions, your comments, your concerns, all that and more at _Caner at Locked On Vols, and you can comment on this episode on the YouTube page. Appreciate you guys for being here every dayers. Tomorrow is your show. Same time, same place. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. This is Locked On Vols.